Welcome to a new episode of the Sunday Sauce. I'm here with a very special man, former Rep Pete King. Pete, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm great. I mean, I'm very excited to have you on the show. You were a representative from 1993 to 2021, right?
Yeah, 28 years. Yeah.
Wow, that is a long time to serve your country, and you also served the country. You were in the army as well, right?
Yeah, I was in the Fighting 69th from 1968 to 1973. And then in elective office, I was a Hempstead councilman with Al D'Amato from 1978 to 81. And then I was county controller from 1981 to 1992. So I've been, I've been around for a while. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I like to think I got something done, but it was, it's a tough business. I don't know, you're considering running. It's a great, again, I'm proud to have done it. I think that a politician who does the job is really, performing a service, but it's not easy. And also we can't complain because nobody makes us do it.
Right, exactly. You volunteer to run for office, so no one forces your hand. So you got to take whatever comes with it, right?
Yeah, that's basically it. Going in, listen, it can be unfair, especially if you're Republican, a conservative, running in a place like New York, even just with the national media. It's gotten so biased, so out of control. But that going in, so you have to be ready, and you have to have your own weapons ready to fight back and not give in when they come after you. You have to assume they're going to come after you, and they're going to come after you from directions you never thought of. But you got to keep your composure. I'm sure you'll do it. You're a tough guy.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, but with you though, if you talk to Democrats and Republicans alike, I really never heard anything bad about you. Like I never heard anyone say anything bad about Pete King, honestly.
Yeah, I got some shots from Newsday without going into all the details. But no, as far as the people I dealt with, I had actually pretty good, a good working relationship with Democrats. I like to think it's because they knew where I was coming from, and if I gave my word I was going to work with them on a project, I wouldn't, run away when it got tough, and also I wouldn't take cheap shots at them. I've tried always to avoid getting involved in personal issues. Again, everyone can have some skeleton somewhere in their family. I like to think I don't, but again, certainly people can make those allegations against you, and so I've never really done that to anyone else. I think it's you're running against one person, not against members of his family or his friends. You're running against him or her, and you take it from there.
Yeah. So when you left office, Andrew Garbarino, right? He
Right.
took over. I believe so. I've heard from a lot of people that he's not very well liked, and people wish that he had you back.
No, actually, excuse me. I think Andrew's doing a good job. Again, he's had some tough votes, but I think a lot of that's been taken out of context. No, I supported Andrew then. I'm supporting him for re-election. I think he's doing a very good job. I have no questions at all. Listen, after you leave, people always think you were better than you were when you were there. So anyway, I'll. It's all like old timers say. They introduce a guy. All they talk about is the home runs he hit. They don't talk about how many times he struck out. So no, Andrew's doing a good job.
Yeah, I talked to. I actually interviewed Mike Rakebrandt, who's running against him, and I know there's another guy running the primary also against him, and apparently they were saying that he's actually a Democrat in disguise and stuff like that. So I don't know how true it is. I don't really know Long Island politics. I mean, I know, so.
Basically what they're focusing on is the infrastructure bill, which also Nicole Miliatakis voted for it.
Right.
It originated really as a totally bipartisan bill. And what people did, there was the Build Back Better bill, which Andrew was never for. And people assumed, or at least some of his opponents claimed, that was the Build Back Better bill was in the infrastructure bill. Actually, it wasn't. To me, it was a good compromise. Not a perfect bill, but in the world we live in today, to me, it was something I would have voted for, to be honest about it. So.
Well, Trump publicly forgave Miliatakis for voting for the bill. So I guess that's why people, give her the pass, I guess, if you would say.
Yeah. And again, I think, Donald Trump, I think, was mainly against it at the end because Joe Biden was for it. I mean, a lot of top Republicans. I mean, in the Senate, I think over 20 Republicans voted for it, and more would have until Trump came out against it. So, listen, what can I say? Politics can be tough and confusing, but on that bill, I think Andrew Garbarino did the right thing.
In New York, would you say it's better to be a Republican or a conservative right now at this time?
Well, to be elected, you have to be a Republican. You have to. It's very difficult for a third-party candidate to win. Now, the last time I remember that any significant race, I'm dating myself, was in 1970 when Jim Buckley was elected U.S. Senator in a three-way race. I think he got 39% of the vote.
Mhm.
But as a practical matter, you have to have major party support. On the other hand, you're not going to win unless you also have conservative party support.
Right.
Conservative party, whether it's Mike Long, Jerry Kazar, they've done a great job as far as making that party a real solid spokes vehicle for
Right.
the conservative movement. And listen, again, I'm old enough to remember when Republicans always felt they had to move to the left to get elected. The conservative party stopped that. And that's why the great majority of Republicans who are elected with conservative party endorsement. But I think that in doing that, we have to be appealing not just to Republicans and registered conservatives, but also to blue collar Democrats.
Right.
You know, they used to call Reagan Democrats. Many people, they registered as Democrats because their parents or grandparents identified with, the Democratic Party, whether it was Al Smith or John Kennedy, Ed Koch for that matter. That's not the Democratic Party of today. So we have to make it clear that the Democratic Party of today is a left-wing, extreme group of progressive leftists, whatever they want to call themselves. They're anti-cop. They are against our institutions. We have to make that clear and show that we are not the party of the rich. We're not the party of the country clubs. We're also, the party of the guys who play softball on weekends, the mothers who work hard during the day and take care of the kids at night. I mean, the whole thing, we're aware of what it means to be we are really the working families party. And that's I know the left has adopted that title, but if you want to look at people who work hard, who are not looking for welfare, not looking for a free ride, are not out there attacking the cops, it's people who share the real values of the Republican and conservative parties.
I agree. I mean, and speaking to that point, I mean, I worked for the city my whole life, and working for the city, you don't get rich unless you have some kind of crazy director title. So,
Right.
And I've been Republican my whole life. I'm definitely didn't come from money. My parents have been Republicans. My dad had to drop out of high school when he was 13. He worked hard his whole life. So, same with my mother, only went to high school. So the Republican Party is definitely not the party of money and things like this. So that's just like a whole farce that the Democratic Party likes to put up just to deter people.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we have to really make sure we don't fall into that trap at all. And to me, if you want a neighborhood that's safe, if you want a neighborhood where your kids can go to safe schools, if you want to be able to take the subways, without some jerk attacking you or attacking your wife or your daughter, to me, it's the Republicans the only ones who want, they're going to do that. I mean, they are standing with the cops. I go back to me, the measuring stick for everyone should be how they reacted during the George Floyd riots in 2020. Right. And I don't know of one Democrat in this state who stood by the police, whether it was going from Andrew Cuomo right down the line. Every Democratic member of Congress, every Democratic member that I know of the state Senate, the Assembly, they lined up against the cops. Now, some of them are now trying saying they're pro-cop. The fact is, when the money was on the line, when the Molotov cocktails were being thrown and the bricks were being thrown at the cops, those Democrats are nowhere to be found. In fact, you had guys like Andrew Cuomo saying he was proud to stand with the protesters. He had state troopers surrounding him. But the fact is that that to me was that was definitely the litmus test. And the fact that so many all of them just ran and hide, to me, that's a disgrace. So we are the party of the police. We are the party of the people who work hard for a living and who want to live in a safe community.
You're 100% correct. I mean, even in Bay Ridge, where I live in Brooklyn, our councilman, when he was up for re-election last year, he deleted his tweets about that he was all in favor for defunding the police. It's the city council when they had the vote. He deleted all his tweets, but many people kept those screenshots. So, that hurt him. He didn't lose, unfortunately, but that definitely hurt him in his re-election. And and Bay Ridge, I know you've been to Bay Ridge. It's a very working class, blue collar, lots of city workers live there, just like Long Island, very, very similar. So, yeah.
I went to high school and college in Brooklyn. I went to Brooklyn Prep, which is now Medgar Evers. But so I used to hang out with a lot of guys in Bay Ridge. It's again, it's a great place, great community. To me, it's a really solid type community. What's the steakhouse? Hunter's Steakhouse down there.
Yeah, Hunter's. Yeah,
guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Again, great place.
Yeah.
Also, if you watch Blue Bloods, that's where.
That's right. The commissioner.
He lives. That's great if you live there, right?
They're always on Shore Road filming
Right.
the show there. Yeah. So when you worked with George Bush a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Very closely after 9/11. Yeah.
yeah. After 9/11, because you were part of the Homeland Security on a committee, correct?
Yeah, I was actually became chairman of the committee in
Right.
from 2005, 2006, then again in 2011 and 2012. Yeah, I was and for 8 years, I was the top Republican on the committee, whether I was either chairman or a ranking member.
Did you see this war in Afghanistan going for like almost 30 years? Like, what did you guys envision when this war started?
Uh, no, well, I supported us going into Afghanistan, and I believe we should have been able to keep a number of troops there. The reason I say that is it was not, people call it an endless war. What it really was is, I mean, that was key. One, Taliban and Al Qaeda still active in Afghanistan. It's on the Pakistan border. It's I think the airport at Kabul is only 300 miles from China. There's a tremendous amount of minerals there in Afghanistan, but also Pakistan to me is a real looming threat. They have nuclear weapons. They have Islamists in their government.
I agree.
Islamists don't control the government, but they're in the government. And us being in Afghanistan, we used to monitor. We used to know what was going on. We could follow, the nuclear weapons. We could see if there were incursions being made. So no, it took on a different form as it went over the years. I didn't look upon it as nation building. I looked upon it as us having an outpost there where we can monitor what was being done. One by China, secondly by the Islamists, and also quite frankly with Russia. I mean, it's really a key location. I think things were done wrong over the years. I think, for instance, when Obama, I guess it was in 2009, he said he was going to increase the troop levels to really fight back, but then he put a deadline on it, which meant just the Taliban just waited till that deadline ran up. But no, in 2001, when it was really the short term was to crush the Taliban, crush Al Qaeda. But then as we looked at it, we saw that they were still there in the mountains. They were still active in Pakistan, coming in and out of Pakistan. And no, but no one, I think, could have foreseen what was or did or claimed that they knew what was going to happen over the next 20 years.
Right. And I still ask the question that no one has answered. Osama bin Laden was hiding in Pakistan. The Pakistani government knew about it, but we still consider them an ally when they hid the #1 most wanted terrorist in the whole world. So I don't understand why haven't they answered for that yet?
No, in fact, with Pakistan, they were really bad at the beginning and at the end. Going back to 1998, when the African embassies were attacked, and Bill Clinton launched rocket attacks, which could have killed bin Laden at that time. But the rockets had to go over Pakistan. So Pakistan, being a quote unquote ally, we notified Pakistan so they would know where these rockets are coming from. And it turned out somebody in the Pakistani government tipped off bin Laden, and bin Laden got away. If we gotten him then, all this may not have happened. And then at the end of the bin Laden era, if you want to call it that, turns out Pakistan was hiding him. And the doctor who cooperated with us and giving us information, as far as I know, is still in jail in Pakistan. So they arrested the guy who really a patriot who cooperated to let us know where bin Laden was. And Pakistan's response was to arrest him. As far as I know, and I've been out of Congress, but as of the time I left Congress, he was still in jail.
That's pretty crazy and corrupt. I mean, there's a corruption all around, I guess, right? It's not only in
Pakistan is again that they are a nuclear power. They're not against us, but they're not for us. And I think we have to look upon them as maybe a necessary evil. I wouldn't trust them at all. On the other hand, you don't want them going over to the other side completely. So it's a real balancing act. And that's why I thought Afghanistan was it gave us a good view into what was going on in Pakistan. We were able to monitor what was happening. But no, Pakistan is, it's corrupt for one thing, but a lot of countries not part of the world are. But they do play both sides, and they do have a definite Islamist movement.
For sure.
Which has penetrated their government.
Well, now, I had a question for you. Why I always see this when you were in Congress, right? Why do Democrats why are they so anti-Israel?
Yeah, that's, by the way, when any vote comes up, which is indicative of whether or not you're pro or anti-Israel. Maybe you get one Republican vote. It's usually some guy who just has a opposition to foreign aid. He has some. It has nothing to do with Israel. But no, Democrats, they identify, I guess, with these radical insurgents. It's not all Democrats, but it's not the way it used to be over the years. It used to be Democrats, Republicans stood as one when it came to Israel.
Right.
No, now it's. I think part of it is. I'll say this: they're being consistent. I mean, they. Well, you're talking, the AOC types, or someone like Ilan Omar out in Minnesota. Talking about Tlaib in Michigan. I mean, these people are pro-Palestinian. They believe in these insurgency movements, and also Israel is in many ways everything they're opposed to. It's basically a capitalist country. It's very democratic, very pro-military, and allies with the United States. So those are all negatives in the eyes of the hardcore left of the Democratic Party, which used to be 3 or 4 people you were talking about. Now it's getting stronger and stronger. It really is, that left wing of the Democratic Party. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day, Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from along the border in Texas. And he's had now 2 massive primaries against him launched by AOC. And it's caused millions and millions and millions of dollars. It looks as if he's won this time, but they're after him because he's pro-life, because he's basically pro-American, and because he's willing to work with Republicans, and also because he wants strong border security. And they just feel it's wrong for a Democrat to be saying anything at all that's against open immigration.
Why does Democrats, if you're pro-America, right? You're pro for this country, they automatically say white supremacy. Well, I don't understand their logic behind that. If you're for your country that you live in and you pay taxes for, why are you a white supremacist, quote unquote, when that's not even close to what that means?
Only because I think they have, for whatever psychological reason or educational reason, they have instinctive anti-American attitude. They want to question the United States. They want to belittle the United States. And all this talk about white supremacy, first of all, it's not true. But secondly, they also tie that into immigration policy.
Right.
Well, the fact is, most of the people who are trying to, the millions who are rushing to get into this country legally and illegally, most of them are non-whites. So if these people so anxious to get in the country that's controlled by white supremacists, why would so many people who are black or brown be fighting to get into this country? Correct. Again, legally and illegally. I mean, listen, I don't in any way support illegal immigration. I understand why people want to come here. And so they again, they would certainly not be considered white in the political context we have today. And yet they're fighting desperately, to get in here in a country of so-called white supremacists. No, it's terrible. It's just some people have this instinct to tear our country down. It's almost a worldwide movement that's out there, and that's why I think Republicans, we have to really be very articulate and precise in what we're saying, because we have so many valid points to make. We shouldn't get sidetracked and going off on different points. The Democratic Party is the party of the extreme left, not the party of John Kennedy. It's not the the party of Franklin Roosevelt, even certainly not the party of Al Smith or Ed Koch.
No, even Bill Clinton was a moderate considered back in his time.
Yeah, certainly, compared to today. I mean, Bill Clinton was, Bill Clinton, with all of the fireworks, I was down there during a lot of that with him and Newt Gingrich. The fact is, the two of them together, even though they certainly didn't love each other, but they realized the realities of working together, they brought about the first balanced budget. In fact, the only one we've had, I think, in the last 70 years.
Do you think now that, I would say regular Democrats, we're not talking far left progressives now, are starting to come around, and independents, because now we have record high gas prices, we have inflation, we have this war that we're fighting with Ukraine, with Russia, this proxy war. Do you think now the presidential election, do you think they're going to come around, and also in the midterms, like independents will just vote Republican, and maybe the Democrats that are kind of, on the line, they're just going to come to us now because they're just sick and tired of this nonsense?
Yeah, I would say anyone who's considered a swing voter, I say anyone, 90% of those,
right,
which mainly will be independents and more conservative Democrats. I think they are going to vote Republican this year, which is why I see a Republican wave. Even maybe more significant for the long run, though, is going to be that we are making enormous strides into the Hispanic vote, which had been considered overwhelmingly Democrat. Now we see that Biden is only supported by 26% of Hispanics. Now, it's really up to us to show and make the argument that we are the party of Hispanics. I mean, if you, again, not to generalize, but if you're talking about strong family structure, you're talking about hardworking people, you're talking about people who have a great sense of community, that would be the Hispanic voter. And so we should make clear that those are our values. I mean, Hispanics don't want to live in neighborhoods where people are being shot and killed.
No.
They want their family members to be able to take the subway to work. They're not, in many cases, certainly if they're first generation, don't have the money to be taking Ubers everywhere or having a chauffeur-driven limousine. You know, they rely on public transportation. And
Right.
you can't rely on it today if you're afraid you're going to get mugged or stabbed or shot.
That's correct. I know. So I was an FDNY EMT for 5 years in Manhattan, and you know, I went to a lot of projects, and even African American families as well said that they love the police, working class African American families, and they're for law and order, and you know, they're sick and tired of this nonsense. Like going to the corner store, they have to worry if they're going to get shot, stabbed, robbed. I mean, and we're talking about in Manhattan, you know, like in Chelsea, in East Village, like these kinds of neighborhoods where things aren't supposed to happen, but there are projects, but things aren't supposed to happen there like this.
No, and even in the African American neighborhoods themselves, the communities, they're the ones who suffer the most, not just from the crime itself, which is bad, but also like CVS and Walgreens. And when they start shutting down stores because of looting and shoplifting, they shut them down in those communities. So it's depriving the very people who so-called leaders are attacking the police. I like to see it's up in Harlem right now. I guess it's Assemblywoman Dinkins, I think it is. She's being opposed by an AOC supporter in the primary. And she's basically screaming at them, don't be telling me I live in Harlem. I want the police. I do want, I don't want to defund the cops. I want the cops here. So I think we're seeing people starting to speak out and fight back against this monolith of a Democratic Party being controlled by the left.
So we fast forward to after your political career.
Yeah.
Were you always interested in radio or like I know you're at WABC now, right? So
It's WABC, and also I do Newsmax.
Right, do Newsmax. So, well, Newsmax is good. Most former political people get on Newsmax. But did you always want to do like a radio show, or that was just something you just picked up?
No, it happened. I did a lot of media when I was in Congress, and the reason I did that was a lot of it was very pragmatic. The only real media outlet in Nassau County or in Suffolk County was Newsday. They basically had a monopoly.
Right.
The Post, the Daily News could be good, but that mainly city oriented. Newsday was the one that covered Nassau and Suffolk every day, every minute. And quite frankly, I had a long-term bitter feud with Newsday. So I didn't want my whole political career and political life and my message controlled by Newsday. So I did every bit of free media that I could. A lot of radio, a lot of television. I used to go on. Again, certainly on ABC with Imus and Bernie and Sid, John Gambling, all those type shows, and also other stations in New York too. And I did a lot of television. So I never thought about actually having, being on radio as a job. But in my near the end, John Catsimatidis said to me, "I'd like to talk to you when you're out of Congress." And so anyway, we basically. He wanted to make WABC. He wanted to bring it back. It was really on its death's doorstep there for a while.
Yeah.
And it was also being run by people who were not from New York. And there was nothing New York about WABC at the last few years. When John took it over, he made it so New York oriented, whether it's Joe Piscopo, whether it's Cousin Brucey, whether it's Bernie and Sid, we go down the line. And so anyway, he asked me to be part of that. And it really seemed interesting and exciting. So now I co-host with him, John at Cats at Night, at least twice a week. I'm a regular on Bernie and Sid, and I fill in whenever they need me. And again, I'm part of that WABC family. So yeah, I enjoy it. I thought it was somewhat easy being a guest when you're actually co-hosting or you actually, I never paid attention to all the stuff going on behind the scenes. Whether it's the commercials, whether it's the time limit, or whatever, or bringing in the next guest and making sure that people are on the line. So I'm, sort of learning the nuts and bolts. But no, John Catsimatidis has done a great job. And I don't know how many people I run into who say, "Oh, I heard you on Cats at Night. I heard you on Bernie and Sid," and they follow it religiously. Not just me. People like Lydia Serrani, Bo Dietl. I mean, Rich Lowry. All these people that have become regulars.
So you're semi-retired then.
Yeah, and I'm also doing, some consulting work. I
Yeah.
write a column for the Hill newspaper. So yeah, and I'm semi-retired. The difference is I'm doing a lot of different things, but I'm able to do them at my own speed. And
Right.
I can wake up every morning and go back to sleep if I want to, which was not the case for 28 years.
Of course.
The only one who's not crazy about this is my wife. I mean, now I'm hanging around the house. She had 28 years of independence, and now
Yeah, she wants you to get another full-time job, probably.
yeah, everyone says, "Ah, God, you're so lucky he's home now." I said, "Well, not exactly." So,
Yeah. All right, last question.
Yeah.
You're 28 years in Congress. Is there one thing you would change, or you're happy with your whole career in Congress?
Oh, basically, I'm satisfied. I think, like all of us, I wish we could have done more before 9/11 to realize the real threat from Islamist terrorism. If there's anything I would want to redo, I would say it's that. The country did not realize that threat. We thought that what happened in 1993 when they attacked the World Trade Center was a one-off. So that's just
that. I would agree with that. We all wish that. But P. King, we thank you for your service. We thank you for your military service, and we look forward to hearing you on WABC. And thanks for coming on the show.
I thank you. Good luck to you. Let me know how I can help.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Right.